Hello, my name is Kat.
Hey guys, my name's Cassie from Miss Sassy Cassie.
Hello, I'm Christine from Pole Bananas Books.
Hey fellow book lovers, I'm Selena from OXXX Snap 13, and my favorite Twilight memory is...
And my Twilight story for you is...
My favorite Twilight memory is also my first Twilight memory.
And one of my favorite Twilight memories is actually talking about the books with my mom. My mom never reads books, but she read the Twilight books.
One of my favorite Twilight memories happened about 8 or 9 years ago. I'm not exactly sure. I was up here at Forks for my first real signing that I did.
Just after the first Twilight movies came out, I was obsessed with the soundtrack, and I begged my dad to get it for me, and it never happened. I wanted it so bad.
And she would call me like late at night and be like, oh my god, I'm staying up reading Breaking Dawn, I can't stop reading. And it just made me so happy that I could discuss something I was so obsessed with in detail with my mom. It was awesome.
I was doing some shopping at Walmart, and of course I had to stop by the book section, and there was just this wall of black and red books.
The day of my 8th grade dance, which is basically like prom in middle school, I was getting ready with my friends and my dad walked in with a flower and the CD. I was so excited. We turned it on, me and all my friends just got ready for the 8th grade dance and listened to the Twilight soundtrack, and it was one of the best times I think I've ever had. I think I had more fun doing that than going to the actual dance.
Probably the best part was there was a group of girls that we were just hanging out. We were up all night in someone's hotel room. We were down on First Beach forever. I sunburned my legs so I had capri pants on, which is a really horrible tan line. I had to go out and buy a bunch of maxi skirts because I was beet red from like 2 inches under my knee down.
Breaking Dawn had just come out, so all 4 of them were there. I hadn't heard anything about the series, but I decided to pick up the first one and give it a go.
I went to see Breaking Dawn Part 2 with my mom and a bunch of other friends who we went to the midnight showings every time together.
My most memorable Twilight experience would definitely be when I went to see the last Twilight movie. And you probably know exactly where this is going. I am one of the people who did not go to the premiere of the movie. I know, horrible Twilight fan.
But we just got a chance to really hang out and get to know each other, and we had so much fun. And it was a really great time back when there weren't as many fans and you could really spend the time with each other, and it was great.
I took book 1 home and I read the entire thing that night, and then I went back to the store the next day and bought the other 3 books and proceeded to spend the next 3 days doing pretty much nothing else but reading this series.
And we were all sitting in a row, and my mom was sitting next to me, and then I had another friend sitting next to me. And when we were watching the movie, the scene where the fight happens in part 2, where you see people dying and the big crevice thing and all of that stuff is happening and it's exciting, and all of my friends were getting so angry in their seats, like they're just squirming, and the girl that was sitting right next to me is going like, what the f is this?
So my sister went and saw it before me, and all my sister kept telling me is, oh my god, you're gonna freak out at the end of this movie. So naturally, I'm already angry because I know that they have clearly changed the end of the movie from what the book is. So I finally go to see the movie. I'm with my family. My sister is literally smirking the entire movie. So finally that moment happens. That moment where homeboy comes flying up, rips Carlisle's head off, and you're just like,
this isn't what happens. They're killing people off that don't die, and what's going on? And I turned to my mom and she turned to me at the same time, and we both went, I don't think this is real. And then literally seconds later, that scene ended and we saw it was Alice's vision that she had, and I was just like, I knew it.
I literally jumped out of my seat gasping, holding my heart. I'm about to fall out on the floor and die. So I'm basically yelling at the screen as every Cullen member dies, and my sister is just laughing. And then Alice pops up on the screen. It's a vision. This asshole has basically sat here writing the script thinking, I finally figured out how to kill off the entire Twilight fandom by giving them heart failure.
At that point in my life, I wasn't really reading a lot, and plowing through this entire series over the course of like 3 days is what got me back into reading. You know, I finished Twilight and I wanted more, so I went out and got more, and here I am today.
Twilight has taught me many things, but I think the most valuable lesson that I took away from reading Twilight is that taking one book with you while going away on a holiday is not enough.
Twilight has been such a big part of my life since the 2008-2009 school year when I was in 5th grade, and I'm a senior in high school now, so it's been a long time.
So I only live a couple of hours away from Forks because I'm in Seattle, and so years and years ago, when the Twilight books had just come out, my friends and I decided to take a road trip up to Forks, Washington.
Back in the day, I was going on holiday with my family. We were going over to Europe from Sydney to wherever it was that we were landing. It was going to take about 24 hours to get there. So we're at Sydney Airport, we haven't left yet, and I had one book with me. And that one book was Twilight.
And we piled in the car, and we got there, and we had just stopped at the gas station. We had just gotten there. We hadn't seen any of the sights yet. And we go in to get a couple snacks, and when we come back out, my car is running.
I wasn't the first person in my class to have read Twilight, but I was the first person to finish the entire saga, so, you know, I was just clearly better than everyone else. And then we had this grade-wide assignment where you had to write an ode dedicated to something, and it could have been anything. And naturally, being the crazy twihard that I was, I wrote my ode about the Twilight Saga.
And then I reached for my keys and realized that for my car to be running, my keys must be in the car. So I went, and of course all the doors were locked, and I had completely locked my keys in the car in Forks, Washington at night, and there was nothing I could do about it.
I thought to myself, you know what? It might be smart to get another book as well, because we were going to places that didn't speak English, so if I wanted to buy another book, I wasn't going to find many books written in English, unfortunately. So I ended up picking up New Moon, and I think that was the smartest decision that I made that entire trip, because I ended up finishing Twilight and New Moon before we touched down in our destination.
The ode only had to be half a page. I wrote a 2-page long ode to Twilight, and I looked on my computer before I made this video, and I still have it. I still have the Word document, and the last time I opened it was April 2nd of 2009. I'm not going to read you the whole thing because it's kind of terrible, but I'll read you the last couplet so that you guys can get a taste of what a masterpiece this is and how much of a poetic genius I am.
So I called AAA, and of course we were out of the range of AAA because Forks is so far out of the way, and so we had to find a police officer who we of course privately referred to as Charlie amongst ourselves later in recounting the story, and had to have him help me break into my car so we could get the keys and continue on our Forks trip. And that is the first thing that happened to me in Forks, Washington. Thank you, Twilight.
One of my favorite memories about Twilight is just kind of the entire fangirl experience, because I had never experienced that before. I felt so in love with this boy that it wasn't real, but I also didn't want anyone to know about it because it was like freaked out because I thought something was wrong with me, and I didn't want to tell my mom because I thought she was going to take me to the doctor because I thought I was like psychotic.
Taking one book with me to begin with would not have been enough. 2 wasn't even enough. So now I take a suitcase full of books when I go traveling. And Twilight was the book that taught me that very, very valuable lesson.
And to the author of the book series that I most admire, thank you so much, the genius, Stephenie Meyer.
I also called my boyfriend at the time, Edward, at one point, and it caused a huge fight, so...
It also, you know, ignited my love for reading and made me the avid reader that I am today. It was something that my friends and I had in common, and, you know, those sorts of things, but that one lesson, that was the most important thing.
So that was the thing that I did. And I'm not embarrassed about it because I was a twihard back then, and I still am now. I love the books. The impact that that book series had on me is just seriously inimitable. I just can't believe that my 5th grade self wrote a 2-page long poem about Twilight. Wow, good times.
Plus, it made me become such an avid reader. I just have so much love for it, and it's just so nostalgic, and I just love Twilight so much. That was my first ever book crush, and I just didn't even know what to do with myself. I just, oh my god, it was so... Oh, it was bad.
Okay, so my favorite Twilight memory is when I was in 7th grade and I was looking through my sister's closet.
My favorite Twilight memory is just the general obsession I had with being Bella Swan. And you may be thinking, oh yeah, like that was me too. No. When I was 13 years old, I was
researching all of these legal documents on how to legally change my name to Bella.
So my Twilight story comes from a Breaking Dawn release party held at a Borders near my home. One of the contests was a Bella Swan lookalike contest, and naturally I had to enter. I had the long brown hair, I was super pale, and I even wore a navy blue homecoming dress with a Converse on one foot and one of the booty things on the other to make my leg look injured. I was like the prime prom Bella Swan.
And all I could see were these like black books with like these weird covers and this hand in the apple, and so I was really intrigued by it, so I picked it up at like probably 12:30 at night and never went to bed and pulled an all-nighter because I had to finish the first book. So that was my first and favorite Twilight experience.
I have a confession. I used to write Twilight fan fiction. I know, it feels like I have permanently sinned. Especially now that I'm basically classified in the same category as E.L. James fan fiction. Minus the BDSM, of course. Though technically not all of the erotica. Though 11-year-old me probably thought that making out was the extent of erotica.
One time I wrote Bella Giordano on a test and my teacher took off points because she didn't think it was appropriate. I told everyone in my class that I would not date anyone unless their last name was Cullen.
So I was sitting here thinking I had this contest in the bag, but what I could have never prepared for was the cutest little 5-year-old I have ever seen enter the Bella Swan contest.
However, despite the awkwardness and creepiness of my avid fanfiction writing, it still remains one of my most cherished memories associated with my undying love, get it, for the amazing Twilight series.
It was really just attributed to the fact that I just wanted to marry Edward so badly, but guys, I was so serious about this. And anytime anyone ever brings up Twilight, all I can think is, oh my dear God, please do not remind me of the time. Just please don't bring it up.
There's no competing with that. Everybody voted for her. I voted for her. How do you not vote for this cute little thing? And I had no chance. I admit it. I had no chance against that. So that is my Twilight story about how I lost a Bella Swan lookalike contest to a 5-year-old.
I spent hours and hours pouring my little Twilight-obsessed soul into those crappy chapters, and without the Twilight series, I feel like I wouldn't love books as much as I do today. Oh, and really, where would I be without Jacob Black?
So whenever I think of Twilight, I'm just instantly transported into that mindset where I was just like, I'm gonna be Bella, and like there's nothing that can stop me. And while that is one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, being a part of the Twihard fandom has been some of the greatest experiences of my life, so happy 10th anniversary Twilight.